He is muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm on now. So my question was around living a life of dispassion. So you said we should generally live life dispassionately. But my question is, there are certain disciplines in life or certain aspects of life which can only be fulfilled with passion. Like if you consider the arts, science, social studies, etc., are fine. Maths is fine because they are very logical. But arts is all about passion, right? You have, or you consider our freedom struggle, that couldn't have happened without passion. Or if you consider certain, like, people who are trying to change the world, like you have electric cars and they are really trying to invent something new, and so they have that passion, right? So without that, it's not possible to actually change anything. So if you really think about that, then is the, like, and the arts, right? I mean, arts, if you see, uh, whether it's singing or whether it's painting or dance forms, they have a lot of, like, like I feel, or even writing. Somebody had an experience, felt good or bad about it, and is translating into his expression through art. So what does so how do we reconcile that contradiction?
Good question. Good question. So a love for doing something, a love for cooking, a love for talking, a love to draw, a passion. You use the word passion. Yeah, I never thought I would love cooking, but when I started cooking, I started to love cooking. I'm not a great cook, but whatever little I did, I used to enjoy it. Not that I would invite people and 50 people and start cooking. No, that and all I can't do. So that that passion is there. Without passion, you can't pursue anything. Correct? Nobody can pursue anything. So there what we are talking is, we use the word passion, and it's okay, nothing wrong with that. That love has to be there. Without a desire to pursue a particular field, faculty, whatever, you can't pursue. Without a deep desire for me to come into this area of Vedanta and Sanskrit, where is the possibility? Correct? Where is the possibility? I had a great job and I was doing well. And where is the question of quitting the job? I was productive, I was earning, and I have another 10 more years of productive life, working professional life or more. And where is the question of even coming here? So passionate about Vedanta, we say, correct? Passionate about our Shastram. Yes, all that is true. Yes, your statement is correct that without a passion, you really can't get into something. Now, the passion we are talking about in Viraga is that which binds you. That which binds you. That which makes me a victim is the passion we are talking about. So, Rasagulla, let's take the same example. I love Rasagulla. I eat Rasagulla. Yeah, once in a while eating Rasagulla may be okay. But the doctor has said, Jayakumar, post-lunch sugar is 350. 350 sugar and Rasagulla don't seem to go together. You got to cut out all these things. Now there, what is there? There, my love for Rasgulla has made me a victim. I cannot survive without this Rasgulla. Rasgulla being taken away from me is a situation I cannot stand. Situation I cannot stand. Okay. Now you might say, a dance taken away from her, she cannot stand. Same situation. Yeah, if something is taken away from me and I cannot stand it, then yeah, that passion is binding. Binding passion. So passions can be binding or non-binding. Long ago, if you remember, we talked about likes and dislikes when we were doing the introduction before we entered Tattavabodha. We talked about two kinds of likes.
Viraga.
Yeah, we talked about binding likes and non-binding likes. Very important. So a love I have can be binding. It is binding if its removal can destroy me. A like can be, but will is binding if its removal destroys me. Okay. So that means what? That means, yeah, I am passionately pursuing architecture. I have to recognize that this science of architecture, this ability that is given to me to be the man behind this Subhash Chandra Bose, Sardar Patel statue. I saw that name. His name is somebody. He's been instrumental in some very important structures. If I don't recognize that is a blessing and it is just coming out of me, then what happens? That passion can be binding. And a binding like can take me in the wrong direction also. Take me in the wrong direction. You ask any accomplished artist, any accomplished dancer, anything you ask. A mature accomplished dancer will say that I am blessed by it. I am given the ability to do it now. Look up the dancer called Ananda Shankar, Hyderabad. And she's a great Bharatanatyam dancer. But she got cancer. She suffered cancer. And the story goes, her body was in pain, the hair is dropping, and she can't sit, she's nauseated. And he said, I won't give up dance. Dance is, and she has come on 10 and she's a very reputed dancer from that perspective. She talks about dance and look at her attitude. Her attitude is that I am blessed by this. And yeah, cancer has to come. It came. What can I do about this? I don't want it. And you look at any of the scientists, those who are caught up by it. Caught up means what? Caught up means I am a victim of it. See, here we are talking about Atma being free. Atma being Ananda. Okay. So if I have to do something to be happy, That means I am still subject to sorrow. I'm still subject to this yo-yo, up and down, sorrow, happiness. And in fact, only the person who has recognized that can pursue that person's interest fully, unfettered. Correct? Unfettered pursuit of whatever you love can only happen when you recognize that you're already free. Correct? Only the free person can pursue whatever he or she wants in a unfettered fashion, unhindered fashion. Otherwise, whatever I pursue will still be hindered. I have my anger, I have my sorry, there was a call. I thought if it was my father calling, so it's not my father.
Okay.
So that pursuit is also a bondage. A pursuit that I cannot live without is also a bondage. Remember this. See, what is my goal in life? I want to be happy. Okay, if I take this away from you, will you be happy or not? I won't be happy. Then what? Then you are as bound as everybody else. Do you want to be happy doing something, or do you want to be happy? That is the question. Which is better? Which is better? Hey, Shastram is saying you don't have to do anything to be happy. You are the nature. Your happiness is your nature. So that is what we are looking for here. Once that person sees that, it doesn't stop the person from pursuing anything they want. But that pursuit will be dispassionate. Remember that. You have to think through this. That pursuit will be dispassionate. Correct? You need to think about this a little bit. Okay. So, there is a word, I mean, we are playing with words a little bit. Passion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In America, they use this word very much, passion and all. So, that word is a strong word, I think. Passion is, it comes, it's a package deal, I think. It comes with all kinds of emotions and all that.
Yeah.
And so that's why dispassionate is a better word that way. So that kind of passion is if something makes you so elated, then it will make you so sad also. Remember that. That which makes you elated will make you sad. You just make a note of this. You just make a note of it. Anything that can make you happy can make you sad also. How? You think about it. I leave it to you to think about it. Okay?
Thank you.
So yeah. So anything, so that's something to think about. But it's a good question. So we are not, so when the fact, of course, that desire, that love for that object, for dance, for art, for the sciences, every doctor, when the doctor loves what they do, then that person's practice will be very different from the doctor who wants to earn money through his knowledge. Isn't it? See the difference right there? The difference is manifesting. One doctor loves it. Hey, I want to do it for humanity. His outlook is different. And somebody else's outlook is very different. So we need to think through this. Good question. So that passion, we need to separate out the love for pursuing something from a binding desire. Binding desire. Whether that desire is binding or not, we need to ask. Any desire can be binding. A desire need not be binding. Desire need not be binding. That's why some people ask, hey, how can Swamiji, how can he do so many things? He has a desire to do this, desire to do that. Hey, kaam ko chhod dena. You have to give up kama, but he likes to do so many things. If they ask, the answer to that question is the same thing we talked about. Hey, My karma is different. My karma is what? I have to pursue this karma in order to be happy. In Jnani, karma is a natural expression of happiness. One is where Ananda is the cause of these desires. The other is where the karma is needed to be fulfilled in order for me to be happy.
Right.
Look at the difference. It's just opposite. So, if you recognize you are Ananda, then you are free to pursue what you want. So these Swamijis do so many projects. How can they manage all this? That's because it's natural for them. If they feel like doing it, they just do it. Ishwar ka ajna hai to banega. That's it, over. Let's do it. If it is to be done, let's do it. That's all. So they will never be perturbed if this didn't work out. Yeah, they will find out why it didn't work out, but they are not going to do like this. Because they are objective. They are objective. So therefore, this love to do things and dispassion are not opposed to each other. Love to pursue and do things and being dispassionate are not opposed to each other. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mohini.
I think the passion that we are talking about is the raga, the attachment to the things that you're doing. Is that what is going to bind you, right? And the vairagya that we are talking about has to come from viveka. You think it out. It has to come through the knowledge that what is impermanent is not going to be lasting, and that's why you get dispassionate about it. And also, passion becomes a hindrance when you want to be balanced. Like extreme likes or extreme dislikes are going to interfere with your spiritual state of being balanced or being with equanimity, where you're like sthita prajna or something. So if you have extremes of anything, it's going to be a hindrance. So isn't that what the problem becomes? Isn't that when the passion becomes a hindrance?
Yeah. So, am I bound by what I like or not? That is the question. Does what I like bind me? That's the question. That's a fundamental question you have to ask. Bind me means what? If my desire is not fulfilled, if what I'm pursuing is not fulfilled in a particular way, what is my state?
You still have to be balanced.
Yeah. If I am depressed, if I don't learn a particular dance, if I'm not getting a particular dance properly, now, then what is the purpose of all this dance? What is the difference between this dancer's depression and this poor person's depression? Same depression. Same depression. I am a famous dancer. I pursued it passionately from since I was 3 years old. And now I am depressed. Kya baat hai? So this dancing has made me depressed. So we need to, then the dancer have to visit a psychologist and we have to have this conversation. Binding desires, non-binding desires, impermanence, all this Vedanta will start coming in this discussion. Dancer, passionate dancer. No, but I gave up everything to do this dance. How come this is happening to me? So, some consolation. Somebody has to give me consolation. Somebody has to start the conversation. So, binding desire. Yeah, you're right. So, see, we normally don't use the word attachment. Because that is not understood. How will you visualize attachment? Attachment is not an objective word. But I am bound by it, I can appreciate. Because when something is taken away from me, when something doesn't work the way I want it to be, then what is my feeling? That I can appreciate. Okay, that I can appreciate. Therefore, we will say, is this desire a binding desire or not binding? If it is binding, then then we have a problem. And if it is not binding, I can have any number of desires. Remember this. See, good question. Good question. People ask, how can you have all these desires? How can a wise person have all these desires? Hey, which textbook said you cannot have desires? Ichha is Shakti. What does Lalita Sahasranamam say?
Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti.
Jnana Shakti Swarupani. Hey, Ichha Shakti, the word Shakti has been given. Ichha is a Shakti, it's an expression of Devi. And you are saying you shouldn't desire? This is ridiculous. So all wrong thinking has been presented out there. Ichha ko chhod do.
Sorry. Any desire with pursuit of Ishwar Arpana and Ishwar Prasada Buddhi, if we do it, it's okay to pursue it. Like you're doing it for a good intent. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Dharma is always there, underlying everything. Underlying my pursuits. Correct. Dharma is always there. And if dharma is there, any desire is good. Any desire is fine. But here we are talking about binding versus non-binding desire. And so, nowhere does Krishna say Kamatyagaha. Kamatyagaha, if he has said, it will mean you are not the author of the results of your kama. Because that I don't have control over. Because too many forces are there which decide what the outcome of any action is. And so you can desire as much as you want, but how are you going to deal with the result of those desires? You better make up your mind. That's what Krishna is saying. Cautioning, karmanya vadikaraste. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Karma comes from desire. Karma comes from desire. Every action stems from a desire. Every action comes from a desire. So, yeah. So, good question.
Can I ask you a question?
And, good question. And so, think about that. Very good question. Something to think about. So, the binding desire versus non-binding desire versus giving up desires versus following out desires. All these things, there can be some confusion. It's good to think about these things.
Can I ask a question, Jayakumar?
Yeah, 1 second. Aniruddha had raised his hand. Go ahead, Aniruddha.
Yes, I think it's very interesting discussion. But what I was constantly thinking about while this was going on was the expectation of results in a particular, let's say, outcome that I expect something to take, my action to take. I think that is to me, it looked like that was the cause of the binding itself. So if I have an expectation that certain, passion or not, love or not, I mean, those are all, but if it is driven towards a certain outcome, then that by itself is taking me down the path of binding. That was the thought going through my head. I just thought, if that is the source of doubt or if that's the source of clarity,
So good question. Good question. Suppose you decided it's a Saturday evening, tomorrow is a holiday, and so you all decided to go for a walk. Or you decided to go for a walk in the evening. And everybody, children are busy and, she's busy, and you decided you would go for a walk. And you opened the door and it started raining heavily. Now tell me, there's no question of you're going for a walk now. The walk idea is gone. You can't. It's raining heavily. It will be, maybe the rain will stop after an hour or half an hour, and anyway, half an hour later things change and I have to be doing something else. So you have dropped the idea of walking. Now tell me, you had a desire to walk and you are not allowed to walk. Are you depressed or not?
agree.
This is the question.
Yes.
Answer is yes.
No.
Yes, definitely. That's I think that's the point of correct.
Yeah. So if I say I am depressed,
Yeah,
then I will say the desire to walk was a binding desire.
correct,
If
absolutely.
I say, if my response is, okay,
So what?
it's my karma, I should not walk. And okay, we will do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Holiday. Yeah, there is a chance I can walk. Okay, that's it. Let's do something else. Okay, now I've got half an hour more time now. Half an hour I gained. So if this is the way I respond to this event, then I will say my desire to walk was a non-binding desire.
Right.
Number one. So two things, binding versus non-binding desire. Number two, in both cases, I had a desire. I had an expectation. The expectation was that I will walk from here to there and make a round and then come back. This was my idea. I even knew where I was going to walk, how long I was going to walk.
Right.
All those expectations were there.
I'll see things. Yeah.
What shoe I was going to wear, what dress I'm going to wear, everything. I've got everything ready and everything was clear. This was my expectation. But in one case, the expectation made me, in one case, the outcome was depression. The other case, the outcome was no perturbation whatsoever. Maybe a momentary disappointment. Oh, I'm disappointed. Oh, I wish to go walk so much. परवाह नहीं, देख लेंगे बाद में. Okay.
Maybe an elation.
So therefore what? Therefore, can you say the expectation created this sorrow and depression? If expectations create sorrow, then it is not possible for me to be not depressed when there is a rain. Because in both cases I had expectation.
Right.
Therefore, this idea that you must not expect anything is a wrong idea. Please make a note of this.
Yeah.
Nowhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says don't expect anything. In fact, it is illogical to say don't expect. You know why? Because the minute, in fact, you are doing something itself implies you have an expectation.
Yeah.
You expect, when you press the button on your laptop, you expect the laptop to turn on.
Right.
The question is, if it doesn't turn on, who are you? Am I going to panic? Oh, laptop is not turning on. Everything now suddenly comes.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to miss the class. Oh, how am I going to fix the laptop? So suddenly a whole pile of issues start coming and I start panicking. Is this how I'm going to respond? Or will there be a more objective response?
Right.
Expectation is there, remember. Without expectation, no action can be done. You think about it, please. This is an important exercise you must do if you have not done it. There is always an expectation behind any action. So nobody can, even Krishna cannot tell me not to expect. Even Krishna had the expectation before he opened his mouth. He had the expectation that Arjuna understands my language. Assuming that he spoke in Sanskrit, he understands my language. So I can use Sanskrit. He understands all the words I speak.
Right.
So expectation is there even for Krishna. But Arjuna kept on asking question. Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janatana. Oh, if you think moksha, jnanam is important, why are you asking me
to do actions?
This ghora karma, not ordinary action. He keeps on asking this question.
Right.
So obviously, a lot of understanding was required. And Krishna didn't say, what? I am the greatest teacher in this world. I am God. And you didn't understand what I said? And Krishna is now depressed. Even God could not achieve this. Like this is depressed. So number one thing, very important point to make here is, There is nothing wrong in having expectations. Expectations are always there, and you must also be clear about your expectations, right?
Right.
In communication, they say, be clear about your expectations.
Okay.
Husband and wife, they must be clear. Teacher and student, teacher must be clear what the teacher wants from the student. Only then the class will go well. Expectations must be very clear. And nothing wrong with expectations. So wrong idea. Some of these books give wrong ideas. Kaam ko chhod do and all this they say. Kaam ko chodna nahi it's not possible anyway.
It's not possible, right?
Not possible, because the guy who says give up your desire has a desire. What is his desire? His desire
To make you give up.
You follow his advice.
Yes.
That's his desire. He now has one more desire. Kaam ko chhod do. That is his desire. And then people will ask the question. What is the question? Swamiji, how do I give up my desire? The advice is I must give up desire. Now, how do I give up my desire? Good question. Because how do you give up desire? There's no way of
Not possible.
desire. Not possible. So we have to think it through a little bit. Very important. Apparently simple, but they are not simple topics. Because this is where there's a lot of confusion also. Potentially possible. So good questions. And hope that helps, Aniruddha.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Very nice.
So Aniruddha ji has been attending these classes offline. He has some conflict attending at this time. So happy to have him here. So
Happy to be here. Thank you very much.
So
Definitely.
Araprasad ji, you still have a question?
Can I, or do you want me to postpone it?
So generally I have not exceeded 45 minutes. And it's 8:10 here. So go ahead and ask a question. If it is involved, we can postpone it to next week.
Okay. Now you said basically a person's nature is ananda. So the sorrow and the depressions are the external. Do we have to believe that our nature is ananda because the Shastram says so? In what way? How do you? How can we say that?
Correct. Good question. So the fundamental question can be, I can break it down into two questions. One is, how can my nature be happiness when there is so much sorrow? So that can be one part of your question. Okay. So so that is the whole crux of it. That is what we are studying. We are not trying to brush aside this question. And that's what Vedanta is. How can I be sad when my nature is Ananda? This is the question. Now, one good thing is the Shastram doesn't postpone my question. Let's meet in heaven and then we will talk. I'm sorry, because of your bad karma, you are born here. And you have to suffer this idea. And I don't have any choice. Because of your karma only you were born. And so but I'll promise you, next time you will be born in heaven and I will be there, don't worry. I'll take care of you there. Fortunately, Shastram doesn't say that. So then the other side is that, this sadness is due to wrong conclusions that you have made about yourself. Suddenly that opens up a new world, completely new world. And to answer, and that is what we are studying now. And so your answer to part 2 of your question is, should we believe the Shastram when the Shastram says that you are Ananda? The answer is yes. What do you lose by believing? You have to believe until you understand. You have to believe until you understand. Correct? That is the beauty of this subject. If it is only belief, then there is no guarantee. There's no guarantee because you have to believe. and there is no understanding involved. See, that which has to be believed only need not be understood. There is no need not be logical. What is the example? Hey, you believe that your son is like this, your daughter is like this, and you believe, that's it. There is no reason for that belief. You believe because he is my son, he won't do these kinds of things. Many parents believe that their son will not smoke. Is that belief? Now you know why it's a belief. Because many children do smoke. That shows it's only a belief. There is no proof for it. You are welcome to believe it. Sometimes it is better to question your belief. That is what we say. And so belief is okay. Nothing wrong in believing. But you believe until you understand. Belief in heaven is a belief only. Nobody can prove it. You are welcome to believe it. And nobody is there to tell us whether that belief was correct or wrong. But here when it is Shastra is saying it is you, the subject, aparoksham, you is not remote like heaven. You is not remote like a planet out there. When you go there, fortunately there is no remoteness here. Shastram is talking about you, and it is talking about your nature, and it is making a promise. Okay, we can use the word promise cautiously, and says that you have to understand this, and the promise, the Shastram gives that promise. And because it is understanding, you have the right to, like Arjuna, ask questions and get it clarified. You can always say, I still don't understand. You have the right to say that. We all have the right to say that. Wonderful. Therefore, this pursuit is wonderful. So that's the short answer to your question, Harprasad. And these are all good questions. Yeah. So there is one. Okay, fine. If I had to leave. So we'll pause with that. Ashutosh, go ahead and